What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Woody Hayes Athletics Center. What a big day we just had in here, Tim. Tim May, Spencer Holbrook, practice report at Ohio State. Jim Knowles, a bunch of Ohio State linebackers, took center stage, took the spotlight, stole the show, whatever you want to say. We're talking linebackers, we're talking defense, and we're talking Jim Knowles. And Tim, if the expectations weren't high enough for this Ohio State defense after Big Ten Media Days a couple weeks ago with Ryan Day's comments about a top 10 defense, Jim Knowles took that up a notch by saying, we don't want to be a top 10 defense. We expect a top 5 defense. And yeah, I want to know from you, Tim, which is it?
Roger Mitchell wants to be the #1 defense.
So which is it, Tim? Is it going to be the #1 defense?
No,
here's the top 5 or top 10?
I think until they actually play a game and you get to see what's going on with this defense against a team they're scheming against and has to scheme against them, you know, the jury is out. There's no doubt. There is no doubt that the enthusiasm by these players of what they're dealing with right now, the Jim Knowles designed defense, which is designed to mess with the other team both physically and mentally, psychologically, maybe even emotionally, that spirits are definitely up with what he has taught over the spring and then over the summer and now coming to fruition in the preseason camp. Like he said, he's got about 25% of this thing in, but it's going to go up exponentially. I'm talking about things he can really rely on. Obviously, they pretty much did everybody has kind of an idea for where the scheme is going from what's coming, but things he can rely on, he's like in that 25% range right now, but it can go up exponentially from there. And you know, those are his words, not mine. But the bottom line is, I think definitely enthusiasm is high for this defense for all kinds of reasons, because it feels different to the players. It definitely looks different. It will look different to the fans. It will look different to us. And then you've got guys with all kinds of experience that they got a year ago, really getting their feet wet in some flooding situations. Yeah. That are now a little bit year older and wiser and are just eager to look a lot better than they did a year ago.
So yesterday with the offensive linemen, I talked pretty glowingly about those guys, and you kind of made me tap the brakes a little bit.
Well, only because they haven't played a game. They haven't played a real game yet.
But
Notre Dame's going to line up and try to make these guys look foolish. You understand that?
But you know, I take, you know, responsibility for maybe talking a little bit too much in hyperbole about the offensive line. I'm not going to do that. The point I'm making is I'm not going to do that about this defense. I haven't seen what these safeties look like.
I think it's going to be the greatest defense. No, I'm just joking.
I haven't seen what these safeties look like. I'm not into the whole adjuster versus bandit role because we don't know where these guys are yet, and they're all three learning all 3 spots. So it's kind of foolish for me as somebody who's not watching full practice to say, well, you know, Kai Stokes is a bandit and, you know, Ronnie Hickman is an adjuster, because I just don't know yet. Yeah. And when you talk about the linebackers, Tommy Eichenberg and Steele Chambers were good last year. They were good on a bad defense. Are they good on a good defense? If this defense is good, the defensive line, very unproven as far as, you know, full season's worth of production. What I will say,
what you said without saying it was too, they got desperate at linebacker last year. When you look at the guys they had to move over, Rob Peter to pay Paul, et cetera. I mean, Cody Simon was pretty much emerging as maybe the best linebacker on the field, but he was dealing with a shoulder situation. Tommy Eichenberg was able to take advantage of that and move up and become, in essence, at the end of the Rose Bowl, the MVP defensively of the Rose Bowl. And I mean, there were all kinds of things they were dealing with, you know, last year that were learning pains, also physical pains. And, you know, sometimes it just doesn't look good.
All of that to say, the talent level on this defense is undeniable. You cannot question the amount of talent that Ohio State has assembled. The 2021 class is showing that it is the real deal on the defensive side of the ball, even on down in the trickle effect to Jansen Dunn, who now has moved over a little bit to corner to help patch some holes there. Cameron Martinez as well, starting to play a little bit more corner. I know he's been in sort of a safety corner revolving door.
Well, because Jordan Hancock, we understand, is banged up at this point. How much, you know, remains to be seen.
And so the defensive talent, I will not question that. The ability for it all to come together. Remember, this is the same amount of talent that it had last year.
Exactly. I was going to say, man, it's almost the same people.
And there was a coaching staff, and I will put the blame, you know, now that we're a year removed, I can put some blame on the coaching staff. The coaching staff did not know how to put that talent together to make a good defense. Does Jim Knowles know how to do that? Not only in the linebacker room, but to make the linebackers and defensive line work together, because they didn't last year against the run. To make the linebackers and the secondary work together to defend the pass, because they didn't do it well last year. Everything has to click at the right time to have a top 5 defense like Jim Knowles wants. Can they get there? I absolutely think they can. Will they get there? that is what we won't know even until November. But I will say I'm very excited to see this all get rolled out in front of us on September 3rd under the lights because of how many questions we have. You know, it's kind of funny, Tim. We talked to Jim Knowles for 20, 25 minutes. You almost have more questions walking out of it than you had coming into it because
that's why I like Jim Knowles.
He throws so many different things at you, which is the way he plays defense too.
Jim Knowles, when he's sitting there talking to you, you can see that he's thinking. You know, I mean, I know that's, well, everybody's thinking. I mean, there's stuff going on in his brain 24/7 about how to make this defense better. He lets us peek inside a little bit. He seems very fired up about the way these players have not only grasped his defense, but gotten after it.
Yep.
And, you know, what we're doing right now, we're reading the tea leaves to a certain extent, because when you've got a coach who's feeling good about the way the players are reacting to what he and the other coaches are teaching, you know, there's something going on there that's undeniable.
You've also got
and like I just said, you know, like you said, you were talking about this defense and the new look, but what's not really new is almost across the board, there are very few real new faces, but there are guys with a year of experience under their belt, which is going, and Jim Knowles has addressed this many times, that's going to help him as much almost as the scheme.
And Jim Knowles also talked about the way he teaches is playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the meeting room with the entire defense and playing games with these guys and being, you know, their friend and their coach. And I think that's something that these players have kind of latched onto. I watched multiple players as Jim Knowles was doing his interview walk across behind the media and, you know, make faces at Jim Knowles, you know, point at him, wink at him, you know, say things to him. He's really inserted himself into not only the coaching staff, but into the locker room as somebody that these guys love to be around. When you love to not only be around your position coach, which a lot of people love being around their position coach, but to be around the coordinator and love to be with Jim Knowles as much as these guys do, they've really taken this as a challenge and responded to it. And maybe that's nothing, or maybe it's something, but all of that talent together, there has to be some chemistry. And that's probably what was the main thing that was missing last year, is just across the board defensive chemistry. They appear to have it right now. And I think Jim Knowles started to hint at that today, that they know what they've got in that defensive meeting room. Whether it's proven or not, they know that it can be special if it all comes together.
What's interesting about, because I've seen all kinds of manner of coaches come along, even ever since I became a sports writer back in 1973 down in Texas, I've seen the way guys operate and work. And you've got an interesting plan, the way I look at it from the standpoint, or maybe an interesting way of going about things, that Jim Knowles is deadly serious. He's deadly serious when he talks to these guys. It comes across that way, but in a good-mannered way of doing it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not sure he does a lot of joking, you know, with his guys. Everything is upbeat. Everything is about getting better, pointing out mistakes, but getting better. You know, you only tolerate mistakes for so long, then you move on to some other player. I mean, that's the way it works on any level.
Yep.
But he's got this thing where, like I asked Roger Mitchell about, he plays music down low during their meetings a lot of the times. And and the genius there is, on the first hand you deal with, you go, wait, this guy's playing music. What the hell is it? What's he playing? Then all of a sudden it changes, maybe evolves more into, you're paying attention a little closer because there's music playing in the background and you want to hear every word he says. So now you're paying more attention so that the music doesn't drown out what he's saying. I mean, genius may not be the right word yet. Like I asked Ronnie Hickman at the Big Ten meetings, would you say there's some genius at work there? And he goes, genius, man, that's a big cap. You got to see what happens, you know, before you start calling anything or anybody a genius. But we're definitely experiencing a different method, a way of teaching things and getting players to get after it from A to B, 4 to 6, A to B. And it's going to be a very interesting season with an extremely interesting opener. Because like I was just talking with a guy a while ago, I said, the balloon that's hanging over Ohio State versus Notre Dame for Ohio State right now, it's a balloon, but you don't know what's in it. Is the balloon filled with helium or is it filled with water?
Or is it filled
If Ohio State takes care of business, the balloon's going to get cut and it's going to go. If Ohio State doesn't take care of business, there's going to be a lot of water. It's going to be like a water balloon on things. So I think everyone understands the urgency of what's at stake.
It could be filled with confetti if this defense is good enough. I mean, that's the expectations that they have.
Yeah, but I use the helium analogy because I thought all the way through there could have been a pinata with candy in it. But I thought all the way through that it's gonna, if they take care of business, things are going to take off.
Well, we're not here for the analogies. We're here for the
Why
linebacker
not? I mean,
talk.
that's just fun. That's all we do, man.
We're here for the linebacker talk and a couple news and notes. Linebackers. Sounds like Chip Trayanum lost his black stripe at Ohio State. Seems like he's making progress toward a potential role.
And he's not looking for it. He was glad to lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pali Neoteote seems like a different kind of kid. He looks pretty comfortable meeting with the media, talking to his coaches, just being on the field, being around the program. That can only mean good things for the depth of this unit. It's kind of weird that we forget about Taraji Mitchell because he's a senior leader, but when you have the kind of season that he did with the ups and downs last year, he looks like he's trying to get back on track. He looks thinned down. And then the other note that I'm going to make is a healthy Cody Simon. And I guess I've been beating the drum on this for a couple weeks because I feel like Cody's gotten the short end of the stick since last year. Cody had a shoulder injury last year.
He didn't get to practice in the spring. I mean, what kind of stick you going to use there?
But Cody had an up and down year last year. And I think it was because, well, actually, you have to ask yourself, was that because of the skill level for Cody Simon? Or was it the level of pain and the shoulder injury that he was dealing with? Which is that? It's starting to become evidently clear that it was the shoulder injury that was keeping him held back last year from making a lot of plays. And you wonder, while Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers have entrenched themselves as the starters, what happens when the next couple weeks Cody Simon looks like the same player, but he's got a healthy shoulder? Does he step up and become one of those two? Does he become the number 3 linebacker? When is he on the field? Court Williams is another guy who we didn't talk to because he's a safety. That guy can play safety while being a linebacker. I mean,
he's a big human being.
And so those are just some little tidbits that you pick up when you're inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
And Jim Knowles didn't really commit to a rotation at linebacker yet.
No.
I mean, he kind of indicated or hinted that some of these guys have really got to come on in the next couple of weeks from a depth standpoint after Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers. I think Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers are quite competent of playing their roles, definitely. Then past that, I mean, the guy that showed up here as a transfer and, hey, I'm transferred, I might as well switch positions. Chip Trayanum, showed up here. And everybody I've talked to today has, in essence, raved about the way he has come on at linebacker. He actually looks like a linebacker running around out there, not a former running back.
Yep.
He's physically looks the part. And so there are all these little, like you said, you mentioned 4 or 5 names and you forget about a guy like Neoteote. I mean, you forget about the depth that could be there if these guys develop like you think they can. And C.J. Hicks is another one.
I was getting
Everybody raves about. I mean, C.J. Hicks has definitely got the goods, man. He's just got in Carrico. What's going to be up with him? These are important. This is an important preseason camp for a lot of guys to cement themselves into playing time. And because you're only playing 2 linebackers probably 95% of the time, those chances are going to be scarce once the season starts.
I think if C.J. Hicks doesn't start the season with a role, he'll be on special teams.
Well, he'll be on special teams. Yeah.
I do believe.
I'm talking about playing linebacker.
I do believe toward the end of the season, we're barreling toward a scenario where C.J. Hicks is part of that linebacker rotation. There's too much.
I agree.
There's too much buzz around him. There's too many people in this building that have a say, who are mentioning him in conversations that are of the high-level talents like Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, Cody Simon, Taraji Mitchell. C.J. Hicks' name is coming up in those conversations, and that doesn't come without the foresight,
without being earned.
Without being earned.
And he's also known as one of the funniest guys in the room. So.
Without the foresight to see that we're heading toward a situation with C.J. Hicks being on the field at some capacity. Tim, anything else before we get out of here? Linebacker talk, defense from Jim Knowles.
I mean, I think one of the things that popped up today that's very interesting. Cameron Martinez is basically establishing himself as one of the MVPs of this defense, for meaning most versatile player, because obviously they've been practicing him some at corner now with as Jim Knowles hinted at, the depth at corner has been hit a little bit from the standpoint of players being available. And Cam Martinez is a football player.
Yep.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit when William White, bless his heart, William White, rest in peace. When William White showed up as a freshman back in 1984, He's a former really good running back, but he was a football player, man. He would get himself in the right spot at the right time. He ended up being a starter as a freshman, you know, at cornerback for Ohio State, a team that won the Big Ten and went to the Rose Bowl. And Cam Martinez, obviously, he's been on a journey since he got here. We all remember right there in front of us one day, Kerry Combs upbraiding him during a drill while we're all standing there, and he didn't look too happy about it. I'm talking about Cam, but he hung in there. He has hung in there. He's stuck around here. I told you he impressed me in the Rose Bowl, the second half of that Rose Bowl, the way he was playing in the defensive secondary, and evidently that's gone. The point I'm getting to here is it looks like they're trying to find a way to get him on the field. It's going to be tough in that safety room with the 3 starters we're projecting, but also the other guys that are involved. But they're going to figure out a way to get him on the field because he's too good of a football player. And the same may be true as this camp rolls on for a freshman named Sonny Styles, who ought to be practicing in high school right now, back in Pickerington. But everybody you talk to about him, they're raving about this guy's ability to get into the play no matter where he starts. And so those are some things that stood out to me.
Cameron Martinez, a little bit of a, it's kind of weird because you go from one of the largest guys on the team to the smallest guys on the team. Last year, about this time, we started hearing rumblings of DeJuan Jones. We got to get him in the lineup no matter what, whether that's shuffling guys around or seeing how things fit, but he needs to be on the field. Cam Martinez, right now in the defensive secondary, is almost the same way.
Yeah.
No matter where it is, if he's on the field, you're going to be better because of it. And whether that's in the slot corner, whether that's outside corner, whether that's at one of the 3 safety spots, I don't know. That's remaining to be seen. We're going to be seeing it in on September 3rd, but now it's still August 9th, and we just got done talking to Jim Knowles and the Ohio State linebackers. That's Tim May. I am Spencer Holbrook. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, check us out, subscribe to that channel. The message board, Lettermen Lounge, make sure you come hang out with us there. We're there all year long talking about the Buckeyes. This is Lettermen Row from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.